Okay, thank you, Emily. It's 1 o'clock. I'd like to call the meeting to order, please. I have scanned our video and I can see that all members of council are present. So we're ready to go ahead with any additions to our agenda. And I believe we do have 2.1, section 12.3, the ad hoc water committee draft terms of reference have been added by the CAO. Is there anything else? Then we're looking for a confirmation of the agenda as amended, please. Mover. Thank you, Larry. Seconded.
I'll second it, Scott.
Thank you, Scott. I'm going to have to call the question audibly because I can't see everybody on my screen. So all in favor, Scott?
Yay.
Pat?
Yay.
Mark?
Yay.
Larry?
Yay.
Bill votes yay. Motion is carried. I'll ask any declarations of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof. Hearing, seeing none. We will move to section 5, public question period on agenda items only. I am unaware if we've had any questions submitted.
Mayor Kane, there's been no request to speak at the meeting.
Thank you, Kate. We have a list of participants who have joined us, but I'm not hearing from any of those. So I'm going to move ahead to section 6, our presentations and delegations. And I believe our deputy clerk's up for our social media winter prize pack giveaway report.
Thank you, Mayor Kane. So just a very quick presentation to provide an update and overview on the social media winter prize pack giveaway that we ran through Facebook. So why did we end up doing this? So we took a look at some different options and how to best promote the township's new Facebook page, which was launched in November of 2020. So this was really one of the key ways that a lot of organizations seem to be promoting their pages and their products. So we took the stance that a giveaway would be a nice, fun winter activity to sort of get the word out that the township now has a Facebook page as a way of communicating with the public. Another reason that we ventured down the path that we did is we looked at it from an economic development perspective. So as we're all aware, 2020 has been a little rough on the economy. So in order to help support our local businesses, we purchased 3 $25 gift cards to some local eateries, as well as a $25 charcuterie board from a local sawmill. The board itself was also made from Hamilton Township grown and sourced white oak. So a nice personal touch there to really help promote the local goods. Sorry, another reason was, again, to help with our community engagement. So part of the, in order to enter this contest, we asked participants to leave a comment on the post about what they loved about Hamilton Township. So it was really a way for us to get some insight into what our residents view as our strengths, as well as to learn of what services and attributes that the ratepayers really care about, but also to increase some awareness and transparency in terms of this information can then be used to help us internally to increase our awareness of what ratepayers are looking for, and to help sort of feed into maybe showcase some of those services more. And of course, just really looking to add a little bit of wintertime fun. So we ran this in mid-February when the winter blues, minus 20s are well and strong. So it was a nice way to kind of engage the public. So as I mentioned, the giveaway ran towards the end of February for a week. Total prize pack value was about $120, and it was open to local area residents. So as I mentioned, participants had to comment on the post with what they liked about the township, but they also had to like and follow the township's Facebook page. So it was also a way for us to gain some additional followers to help get that awareness of the services that we provide in our meeting schedule and information in that sort. We did select the winner at random from the comments on February 26th, and they have picked up their prize pack, and from what I believe are thoroughly enjoying a couple free meals from some of our local eateries. So in looking at some of the comments and entries that were received, very happy to report that there was no negative comments. So it was very positive and an uplifting experience to monitor. We had entries from some of our new residents, as recently as 3 months ago, right through to residents who have been here upwards of 7 generations. So it was a really nice snapshot to see who's participating and following and being involved with the township. In addition, Township Council staff and departments were all complimented and cheered for the various service levels that are being provided, as well as friendliness, helpfulness, and the types of programming that's offered. Some of the common themes that were noted throughout the comments and the entries was the very strong sense of community and family ties that seemed to be apparent within the township. Also, there was a really big commitment for recreational activities and outdoor lifestyles. So that was again another very dominant theme, as well as the natural beauty and heritage, as well as the ability to buy and support local. So there was a couple shout outs, for our local businesses, as well as the township's effort to help support local as well. In terms of statistics, the post was visible to approximately 6,000 people. We received over 160 entries and approximately 1,700 engagements with the post itself. So these are people who have actually clicked on that particular posting. It was shared over 36 times, and the post itself had over 100 likes, loves, and cares, which is, people really embracing and enjoying the activity itself. And as previously noted, 0 negative comments, which was very relieving from a management perspective. In terms of outcomes, since February 19th, we've received approximately 100 new followers. The majority coming from that span that the contest did run. We certainly received an increased awareness of township activities and services. So again, with that reach of 6,000 people, people were coming to our township's Facebook page, and that general awareness that the township's page exists was very great. For our local businesses, again, it was very good exposure for them. Again, that 6,000 person reach is great, especially this time of year. We were able to, again, identify some of the ratepayer priorities. So when it comes to, again, the recreational activities, heritage, things along those lines. So we can really use that internally to help maybe capitalize on some of our initiatives that we might be looking to roll out in the future. And we did note that there was participation from a range of age demographics and throughout all areas of the township as well. So we had folks from Baltimore, from down Creighton Height 401 area, all the way up to Bewdley, Harwood, and everywhere in between. So it was a nice all-encompassing activity. Some various lessons learned. So the Facebook giveaway was, it was very easy to manage in-house. So it was very low-key, very user-friendly internally. It was inexpensive. For the amount of exposure that we had, it was the swag was already in-house, so the tumblers, but then with the purchase of the gift cards as well, we had a total of $100 invested into the giveaway, and it was a very highly effective marketing tool when we looked at the insights with that 6,000 person reach. An effective marketing as well as an effective community tool. The township, one of the other main lessons learned was that our Facebook followers are actively engaged with our site. So it's not, it doesn't appear to be falling on deaf ears in the effort for not. So we did have that engagement, which is a very positive outcome for our site. And finally, a final lesson is we may want to consider future contests to be for township residents only. So just something, again, that future consideration. So we did have participation from outside of the township boundaries, which was great to see. But we may in future want to limit it to our residents as an option. And that is your very brief overview of the Facebook giveaway.
Thank you, Emily. So as a quick note, I have the other 4 members of council now on my screen, so we can go back to a show of hands. So I'm going to open it up now to the other members of council for any comments or questions of Emily about the presentation. Yes, Pat.
I have a couple. First of all, I think you've done a great job, Emily. A general question about the Facebook page. It has the ability to private message.
It does, yes.
Have you been getting any like service requests or negative comments to the private messaging part?
No. So when I set the page up, I actually turned off that feature. So the page cannot be directly messaged. It has to, anybody who wishes to contact the township, it's being directed to our info@Hamilton Township email account. So it will go right to reception, which can then distribute through the proper channels, the usual channels.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Any other members, council? Yes, Larry?
Emily, I saw on the page yesterday that the video of the Enridge presentation that Bill made at the community care. And it's great to see that we're doing video too. That's going to be a great asset to it. But congratulations on a well-run program. That's great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, if there's no one else, then I'll add my congratulations, Emily. I've already told you several times how thrilled I am with that we're getting involved in this kind of social media. I think it's just tremendous for us as a municipality. Thank you again for everything you're doing. So I need a mover and a seconder, please, that council received social media winter prize pack giveaway presentation for information.
I'll make the motion, but I do have one more question. I just realized. Am I okay to go?
Sure, go ahead.
Emily, when you did to put this contest together, it came to council first, if I remember correctly.
Yes, through you, Mayor Kane. Yes, Councillor McCourt. It was approved, I believe, back in November as an initial promotion.
So I'm assuming that you're thinking of doing something like this several times a year. Would it be helpful if we made a motion in advance giving you permission to do that?
It could, sure. We do have money allotted for communications as well as economic development as approved through the budget. So we could run it that way, or if council would like to give specific direction, then by all means, we're more than happy to receive that.
I just wanted to make sure there wasn't an extra hurdle you were having to jump to do this. So if you've got money in your budget already, that's open for you to use for marketing in any way that you see fit, assuming that you've talked to others about it as well.
Yes, yeah, they go through the internal approval processes for budget spending.
Okay, so you don't absolutely have to come to council. You could just notify us that you're running another contest.
I don't believe we do, but I'll defer to our CAO, Arthur Anderson, just for clarity.
Through you, Mayor King, to Councillor McCourt's question. We did bring the social media initiative forward because it was new for the township. It was building upon what our plans were and how we were trying to promote the program. So on that occasion, we did bring it forward for council approval. Emily's quite right. We do have money either under economic development, communications, that we could use to support the program on an ongoing basis, given the present success that's been reported. And I heard from the comments, obviously council is appreciative of those efforts, as we all are, and I think we'll be able to come up with the funds under those programs. And if we do require additional funds, we'll come back for approval. However, I think we'll be okay with the existing envelopes, the existing program, and we'll keep council advised as we continue to roll it out.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, so we've had Pat move. Did you need me to reread the motion? It's simply for received information. So Pat's moved.
I'm good.
Scott.
I'll second that, Bill, Scott, and I'd like to quickly add, nicely done, staff.
Great. So all in favor of the motion? I can see hands, and that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving to the next presentation, that's our 2020 Service Awards presentation. This is going to be handled by a number of us. I did receive some last minute information. I've got some of it copied out, but the last preamble, it came just a few minutes prior to the meeting, I don't have. I don't know, Arthur, if you'd like to start off with that preamble.
I'd be happy to, through you, Mayor Keen.
Yeah, perfect. Let's make this a joint effort here between us. Thank you.
That'd be great. So I just wanted to introduce that the township is obviously very committed to recognizing our employees, our volunteer firefighters, the various committee board members and other volunteers for all their achievements, milestones, and a contribution to our public service. And I think that's never more relevant than recognizing the efforts and contributions to people for our ongoing success of the township over the past year in 2020, which was particularly challenging, and through no written script for us, but certainly all the contributions of, again, so many people over the past year is truly appreciated. I think through the recognition program, the accomplishments of employees helps contributes to a supportive work environment and maintains us as being a sort of recognized as an employer of choice that supports our attraction, retention of committed and engaged employees. And it's also these formal and informal recognition activities recognize and reinforce and promote our positive behaviors and performance that support our corporate and departmental values and goals. So while we can't replace an in-person event and celebration that we have had in the past, and we do want to take the time to recognize various people, and that's the purpose of today's presentation. So in accordance with our recognition policy or our recognition approach, today the employees, volunteer firefighters, and board and committee members will all be recognized. So I'll turn it back to you, Mayor Kane.
Thanks, Arthur. Not sure if you included that each of the recipients has already been mailed their certificate ahead of time to show our appreciation for the time that they've served. So they have actually received the article. Correct?
Yes, very much so.
So we have today then 6 committee volunteers, and our municipal clerk and our manager of Parks and Rec, Trevor Clapperton, are going to recognize these individuals for their service.
Okay, so the first person on our list of volunteer service awards is Brenda Maloney. She has 10 years of service with the Accessibility Advisory Committee. Just a little bio on the committee itself, and Brenda has been part of this, is they're promoting equal opportunity and access for all persons, regardless of needs, in order that all persons may participate as fully as possible in all aspects of community life in Hamilton Township. So some of the projects that have been supported by the committee have included accessible playground equipment in our parks. They've contributed to the conversion of door handles and taps to the lever style in our municipal buildings. They have supported the municipal election accessibility standards process, the addition of accessible picnic tables in our parks, and there was an extension to our walkway path in Baltimore that leads to where some of the accessible picnic tables are. So they've been a great contributor to, you know, everything, a variety of things in the township. And Brenda's been great. She's our chair right now, and she's a great support for the rest of the members as well. So congratulations, Brenda, and stick with us another 10 years, please.
My congratulations too. Thank you, Brenda. Do we have Trevor on board with us somewhere?
Yes.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Hi, Trevor. Well,
Hi. I'm not sure what's going on with my camera, but anyways, thank you, Mr. Kane, and through the mayor. On behalf of the Parks and Recreation Department, I just want to take the opportunity to recognize David Jameson for his 10 years of service with the Cold Springs Hall Committee. David's acted as the chair of that committee since my tenure here, and it's been an absolute delight to work with him. And David gets involved with the fundraising roast beef dinners there as well, and is an inaugural part of that committee. I'd also like to recognize Wayne McIntosh for his 10 years of service with the Cold Springs Park Committee. Going back, Wayne has been a part of fundraising that's gone on in recent years for the Cold Springs Park, and currently still active in looking at new playgrounds and shelters and things like that we can pursue opportunities for within that park. So thank you to David and Wayne.
well, thanks, Trevor. And again, my added congratulations. 10 years is a long time to volunteer your services and keep your interest up. So thank you very, very much. Who do we have that's going to present for the Heritage Advisory Committee?
And that is myself, Mayor Kane. It's Kate.
Yes,
And
Kate, thank you.
I sit with the Heritage Advisory Committee as well. And today we are sending congratulations and recognition out to John Joint, Tom Cruikshank, and Les Houston, providing 10 years of service to our Heritage Advisory Committee. The committee itself, they provide council and ratepayers with historical information and guidance on the conservation of properties, of architectural and or historic value of interest in the municipality, and some of the communication to the public with respect to the appreciation of our architecture in history in the municipality is that committee has promoted history and culture through their heritage house tours, their heritage boat tours on Rice Lake of cottages, and the preparation of a digital inventory of buildings that have architectural and historical interest in the township. So again, a shout out to John, Tom, and Les, and certainly hope they stay with us on the Heritage Committee. They're very valuable members, as well as the rest of them are. They're all valuable.
Thank you, Kate. I was thinking the same thing. I know these three gentlemen are integral part of that committee. They're very, very active. So we need to keep them all if we possibly can. Thank you. So we're going to move on. We have 8 firefighters who are going to receive recognition for years of service today. And I believe our fire chief, Kelly Serson, is on board. Take it over.
Yes, I am. Thank you, Mayor Kane.
Thanks, Kelly.
First off, I would like to congratulate all of the recipients for their service achievements. A special congratulations to the fire department members for their dedicated service. There is over 110 years of experience with the members receiving recognition today. I am very proud of the work that you do and the service that you provide to the community. The recipients today are firefighter Jared George, 5 years of service. Fire prevention officer Shelley Leger, 10 years of service. Captain Kevin Cameron, 10 years of service. Captain Mark Hawley, 15 years of service. Firefighter Clint Howcroft, 15 years of service. Captain Jamie Schultz, 20 years of service. Captain Sam Fleming, 20 years of service. And Chief Mike Robinson, 20 years of service. Thank you all and congratulations again.
Thanks, Kelly. Add my congratulations as well. These guys are near and dear to me. Hate to admit it, I think I can probably recall actually being involved in the hiring of some of these gentlemen on this list and ladies. So thank you all for your service. Stay with us. We also have today's 6 staff members to be recognized by the various managers, and we're going to go back to you, Trevor, please, for Parks and Rec.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Kane. First off, I'd like to recognize Rick Halligan for 5 years of service with the Parks and Recreation Department. Rick started off as a part-timer who stayed on full-time now for the past 5 years. He works out of the Bewdley Community Center, and he is an inaugural part of our department, very helpful and always there when we call on him. And he spends his summers in the parks mainly with the students quite often, and the students always enjoy working with Rick. So thank you, Rick.
You got another one there, Trevor, Jamie?
I do. Okay, I'll just carry on. Next,
Please.
with 20 years of service, I want to recognize Jamie Van Stein. So obviously, again, Jamie's been here 20 years full-time, but I think he exceeds that with his part-time contributions. And he's been here, mainly he's the lead hand of the Bewdley Community Center, and obviously been there through that renovation phase that went on. And so he's very reliable when we need information to go back to what was there and what has changed. And I just want to thank Jamie for his contribution to the department.
Thanks, Trevor, and add my compliments to them as well. So my pleasant duty today to award the 5-year service award to our CAO, Arthur Anderson. Arthur, welcome very much. I don't know about you, but somehow it seems longer than 5 years. Not saying it's been a struggle, but it's had its moments. But I thank you for hanging in there and for all that you do for us. On behalf of council, thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
I'm going to move finally to our roads department. And so our manager of public works, Lucas Kelly, if you're on board, Lucas, could you please take it from here?
Thank you, Mayor Kane. So I would like to pass on a thank you and appreciation to the following staff that have reached a significant milestone. So Adam Harris has been with the Public Works Department for 10 years. Joseph Lane, which has been with the Public Works Department for 20 years, and a significant milestone that has been reached by Don Hamley with 30 years of service for the Public Works Department. So I do want to pass on a thank you for their dedicated services for the Public Works Department and appreciate all the work they do. Thank you.
Thanks, Lucas. And on behalf of council, I'll add our congratulations to those members of our Public Works Committee as well. Thanks for everything. We have one last award, and that would be our single staff retiree. And I'm going to turn this over to our CAO, Arthur Anderson.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Kane. It's my pleasure to recognize Beth Thompson today, and upon her retirement in 2020, after 11 years of service with the township as our HR and project manager. I don't know if you know the term contagious enthusiasm, but I think that applies to Beth in whatever she brought every day to the organization. Her experience in HR and private sector was something that certainly I know I relied upon over the last 5 to 6 years, and certainly many of you did during that period as well. Her willingness to take on such a wide berth of issues beyond HR, but also with our emergency planning over the years, as well as updating policies across the organization, and of course, events and activities, filling in and taking a lead on so many issues. I know that she touched so many people over the many years, and I was definitely appreciative of all her contributions. I wanted to wish her and Harold so much enjoyment over the upcoming years and of her retirement. And again, on behalf of the township, thank you very much, Beth. Really have appreciated your involvement and leadership on so many matters, and best of luck to you in the future.
So thanks, Arthur. I can see from my list of participants that we do have Beth with us today, so we can, I'm very glad you could be here, Beth. I want to thank you very much. Quick aside, Beth, my relationship with Beth in the last number of years was, I think, as good as it could be with any staff member, although it didn't start out that well. I originally had a letter of admonishment added to my files for some form of indiscretion that I had committed as a firefighter some number of years ago. It was my first introduction basically to Beth, but we did get by that. And,
We did.
We buried the hatchet.
You were very gracious, Bill.
We left the
Very,
hand.
very-
So that was my initial introduction to Beth, let's say. But anyway, Beth, I do wish you all the very, very best in your retirement. And I hope you're not silly enough to get involved in municipal politics or anything dumb like that now that you've got retired.
No, I've learned my lessons well. That's one thing I won't touch with a 10-foot pole, but I do want to thank each and every one for all the memories.
Thank you very much. So if there's nothing else, anything from other members of council? All right, then we are looking for a mover and a seconder that council receive the 2020 Township of Hamilton Service Award presentation for information. And I've lost Larry off my screen, but I see Mark's moving and Pat is seconding. Oh, thank you. Got Larry back. Thanks, Emily, if you're doing that. So we can, by show of hands, all in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. So we will move to, what have I done? Excuse me, I've got my agenda on the other computer here. I just hit a button. We're on number 7, I believe, is it?
Yes, that's correct, Mayor Kane.
Thank you. Public hearings and meetings if required. And there are. So the first one is section 357 of the Municipal Act, a request for a reduction in taxes. Is our staff member who's going to take this on? You want me to read it?
I believe Treasurer Nusrat Ahmed will take that on, please.
Right, thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, this report is very quick and short in the sense that we are basing it based on the information we received from MPAC on the reassessment because the property was damaged due to the fire.
Right. Thank you. The information is there for us, for us all to see. We've had time to go over it. As in the normal procedure for public hearings, I would ask if there's any people present who are in support of this reduction. I hear none. Those opposed? And I hear none. Those seeking clarification? Again, none. So thank you. Any members of council with questions?
Yes, unmute me, didn't he? We still didn't.
No questions. Okay, thank you very much. So we'll deal with that later in the agenda. 7.2, section 34 of the Planning Act, the zoning amendment, report ZBA 01/21. Read the Harris condition of severances, 18 and 19/19. Do we have Sandra going to take this on?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
If it please council, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. If it please council, I will go through the procedures for the public meeting under the Planning Act. You have announced the purpose of this meeting, and I will be giving a synopsis of the planning report in a moment. The full report is available on the township website. Following my report, the floor will be open to the public. Please make yourself known so that we can address you appropriately. The order of speaking is as follows. Those persons in support of the application, those persons in opposition to the application, those persons seeking clarification, and the applicant will have an opportunity to speak at the end. Please note that all persons wishing to speak to the application must address their comments and questions to the mayor, and that before speaking, you must clearly and slowly state your name and address so that the record is complete. Following the public input, members of council may make comments or ask questions as they deem necessary, and a bylaw may be entertained at a later point during this meeting. The reasons for council's decision on the bylaw and the impact of public input will be provided by the council members. Those persons requesting a copy of the notice of decision must do so in writing to the township, addressed to myself, Sandra Stoffick, the planning coordinator. You may either send me an email or you may drop a letter in our drop box at the front door of the municipal building. There's a mail slot on the left side of the door. This is application ZBA 0121 for the Harris property. Gordon Garland is the agent for the applicants. The purpose of this is to adopt a zoning amendment, amending Schedule M to the bylaw and the text of the bylaw to rezone the subject properties Special Limited Service Residential 4 and Special Limited Service Residential 5, establishing the lot dimensions and recognizing the existing setbacks of the buildings on the properties. And it should be known that the uses permitted within the Oak Ridges Marine zones on the property are to remain. It's just the underlying zone provisions that will be specialized in the LSR zones. The notice of public meeting was circulated to the property owners, neighboring property owners on February 16, 2021. And the signs were posted on the property on February 18, 2021 in accordance with the Ontario Planning Act. The purpose of this is to fulfill condition of consent to sever. In early 2020, the Committee of Adjustment granted provisional consent with respect to the properties involved for lot additions, realigning the lot lines, just changing the property fabric. There were 3 lots at the time, and at the end of this whole project, there will be 2 lots, but the 2 lots will be bigger and they will all have water frontage. They will not have municipal road frontage, but water frontage is permitted in the LSR zones. The proposal is in keeping with the provincial policy statement and the township official plan. The zoning bylaw, the properties are zoned Oak Ridges Marine Countryside and Oak Ridges Marine Environmental, depending on where you are in the property. And they have underlying limited service residential zone and special marginal agricultural 1 zone. Again, depending on where you are at the property. Neither property will meet the minimum frontage of the LSR zone. But then again, most properties in the LSR zone do not enjoy appropriate land dimensions. The area of the benefiting lot will increase to 1.11 acres, and the remnant pieces will merge to become 8 acres. The majority lands, of course, are in the Oak Ridge Marine Environmental Zone, and agricultural uses are not permitted. So having an underlying marginal agricultural zone provision doesn't appear to be in keeping with the intent of the Oak Ridge Marine Zone. That's why I'm proposing limited service residential zones across the board. The proposed use of the land would be for seasonal residential purposes as well. And the limited service residential zone does have zone provisions in our bylaw, does have the following statement. It's a cautionary statement for the public. There is no commitment or requirement by the municipality to assume responsibility for ownership or maintenance of any private road. And due to road condition of privately maintained roads, there's no commitment or requirement by the municipality to ensure that emergency vehicles are able to access the privately owned roads. The intent of the LSR zone is to recognize residential development on private roads. The specialized zones identify minimum lot dimensions and recognizes the locations of the existing dwelling and garage on the benefiting lands. And it's the opinion of this department that the proposal is appropriate and in keeping with the other governing documents. Agency comments received. Public Works had no additional comments. The County of Northumberland had no objection to the proposal, and they noted various reasons. And the Township Building Department had no objection to the proposal. So in conclusion, it appears that the proposal is in keeping with the provincial policy statement, the township official plan, and the intent of the zoning bylaw. Again, outside commenting agencies had no objections, and a bylaw has been prepared for council's consideration. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I should say, Mr. Mayor.
That's all right. Thank you, Sandra. So our next order then is to go to members of the public. The first is asking if there is anyone here who is in support. And I believe Mr. Garland, the agent for the family, is on board with us. Are you here, sir?
Can you hear us?
I can hear you now.
Yes, it's Gordon Garland. I live at 440 West Drive, Cobourg, Ontario.
Thank you.
In
Do you
relation, pardon me?
Do you have something you wish to add to the presentation?
No, I think everything went quite well.
Okay, fine.
Thanks on behalf of Aubrey Harris.
Okay, so you'll be available to ask questions if any members have them then. I'm going to skip to the next section. Anyone here who is opposed? Is there anyone from the members of the public who is seeking clarification? So I'm going to move to members of council. Anyone who has questions for staff or for Mr. Garland? Scott?
Thank you, Mayor. Sandra, in your report, you identified that 4 buildings have been removed. Was that a condition of the process?
No, it was not a condition of the Committee of Adjustment. If they hadn't been removed, they would have had to have been recognized through this bylaw process. But 2 of them were small cottages very close to the water on what is identified as part 2 of the reference plan. And 2 others were porta potties. So they've all been removed. That's been confirmed through discussion with the applicant.
In the past, we've had some difficulties with our review process of the buildings being removed. What action have we taken to ensure these buildings are in fact down?
Given the time of year, I have not driven down to this location and then walked in. So I admit I am taking the word of the applicant.
If I could turn to Mr. Garland. Mr. Garland, of course, your word is of substance to me. Have these buildings been removed?
Yes, they have.
Thank you.
The property has been graded and it's completed.
Thank you.
Is that it, Scott?
Yes, thank you, Bill.
Any other members? Questions? I'll just quickly verify with Sanders' opinion of there are times when visiting that site can be most treacherous, as I found out previously. So I have all the sympathies for you, Sandra, on that one.
Thank you.
So if there's nothing more, we'll move to section 8, planning bylaws. And that would be first up, bylaw 2021-11. I need a mover and a seconder. The bylaw 2021-11 being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 2001-58 as amended, the Township of Hamilton Land Use Control Bylaw. Be given a first, second, and third reading and finally passed the 16th day of March 2021. Thanks, Scott. Seconded by Mark. All in favor? And I see 5 hands. Thank you. That's carried.
So the applicant and agent will receive notice of decision, as will anybody else who sends me a written request for such.
Thank you, Sandra. So we're moving to section 9. This would be adoption of previous council meetings and committee of the whole meetings and so on. First one up is 9.1. Mover and a seconder that the minutes of the February 16th, 2021 regular council meeting be approved.
Oh,
Thanks, Scott. Seconder.
geez. Very good.
Yes, Mark, thank you.
Are we still on?
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? That's carried. You got a hand, Pat, or you against this one? Sorry, Pat, you're muted.
I wasn't able to attend that meeting, so I'm not comfortable voting on it.
Okay, thank you, Pat. I understand perfectly. Thank you for that explanation. So the motion is carried by four. The four people who are present carry that motion. 9.2 minutes of the March 9th, 2021 special council meeting. Mover and seconder the minutes of March 9th, 2021, the special council meeting council be approved. Moved by Mark, seconded by Larry. Thank you. And there any discussion on that? Call the question. All in favor then? And again, we have it's carried. Thanks. Thank you. I sort of gave us the opportunity as we went along, but is there any business arising from those? All right, thank you again. Moving to committee reports. First one is the Parks and Recs Advisory Committee minutes of 2021-01-25. Mover and a seconder, please, that the minutes of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee meeting held January 25th, 2021 be received for information. Thanks, Pat. Okay, I got Pat's hand up first. Scott seconded. All in favor? Thank you. That's carried. Any discussion from those minutes? All right. 11.2. We need someone to move and second that the minutes of the Environment and Climate Change Advisory Committee meeting held February 22nd, 2021 be received for information. Thanks, Larry. Seconded by Pat. Is there anything to come from that meeting? Any comments, questions? Okay, I'll call the question in. All in favor? That's carried. Larry, did you have something you want to add?
I was just going to say, I found it really interesting, the presentation that was made, some of the statistical information in the future. I found it very interesting, and thereby the value of this new committee is quite appreciative. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, and the makeup of the committee is, first rate. So we've got some great people there. So we're expecting big things. 11.3, mover and a seconder the minutes of the park. I believe it should be the minutes of the Joint Animal Control Municipal Services Board committee meeting held February 24th, 2021 be received for information. Thanks, Larry. Seconded by Pat. Any discussion on that, the minutes? Yes, Larry?
Just want to make sure that the public understands there was 192,500 that was donated to the Joint Animal Services. And it went into general reserves. Just to understand, where will that money be distributed to for the animal services?
So I don't know if Nazar wants to weigh in first, or if you want me to just take this, Nazar.
To you, Mr. Mayor, I'll just add that it was transferred to the Municipal Animal Services General Reserve, and the board would decide how to spend the money.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, quick addition, Larry, we do have some issues coming up in Municipal Animal Service, so that money may very well be needed in sometime in the fairly near future. So I also hasten to add what a tremendous a thing for those families to do to donate that money to our Municipal Animal Services, and we are absolutely most appreciative for them keeping the animals in their thoughts. So that was actually pretty shocking to have that kind of money donated. It was it's a very significant amount of money. So I want to thank them very much. So we're on to 12.1 under Public Works and Infrastructure. And we have Public Works and Infrastructure 2021-01. It's a tender PDF. We're looking for a motion, please, that council authorize the mayor and treasurer to award the purchase of a new 2021 or 2022 diesel-powered tandem truck complete with tilt forward plow harness, one-way plow, wing, and all-season dump body spreader as specified in tender number PW 2021-01 for a value of $297,354.50 plus HST to Winslow Girolami Motors Limited. Moved by Scott, seconded by Mark. Do we have some discussion on this? Questions? Okay, my only question is, we're not aware we're getting a 2021 or a 2022 model. Is that?
I will
It
answer
seems-
that. I
Yeah, thank you,
believe
Lucas.
the date when international switches over is in the midsummer. So it's either, depending on how it's built out at the assembly line, it's either going to be a 2021 or 2022. There is no specific differences from each year. It's more or less just the VIN number. So that's the only thing they're not sure on when this order does come in, on what year it will be.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. That makes perfect sense. There's nothing else from council then. I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Got one by Lucas. 12.2. This is Public Works and Infrastructure 2021-02, tender number, I just gave it 2021-02. And we're looking for motions from council. The council authorized the mayor and treasurer to award the tenders number PW 2021-02 paving and drainage improvements of various roads within Hamilton Township at a value of $653,784.50 plus HST to DeKaiser Excavating Limited. And further, that the mayor and treasurer be authorized to undertake all things necessary to execute the contract for the work. Mover. Thanks, Mark. Seconded. Pat. Seems to be some hesitancy. Are there questions here, staff? Of staff from council? Yes, Larry?
Just for the record, can we have a list of the roads that they are going to be doing? I think it did indicate that in the report, I believe. I can't find the report.
This is the tender for the asphalt hot mix paving contract. I believe it was in the report for Rice Lake Drive South from County Road 9 to Donaldson Road. And then the other one is Forest Hill Drive from Ontario Street to Danforth Road.
Thanks,
Okay,
Lucas.
thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to clarify so that the public is aware what we're intending there.
Yep. And
Thank
also,
you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Lucas.
how far under tender was this? I'm sure it was under tender or we wouldn't be bringing it forward. What was our budget, I should say?
I believe I'm just scrolling down to the financial discussion. So it was under budget by $14,700 approximately.
Okay, thank you. That's good. Anything else from members? So I'll call the question. All in favor? And I have 5 hands. Thank you. That's carried. Thanks, Lucas. 12.3, the Ad Hoc Water Committee draft terms of reference. And have a verbal report from our CAO.
If I can, through Mayor Kane.
Yes.
I apologize to council to the fact that this was not posted earlier, but I have had it as an addition to the agenda because we are actually following through on the direction from council from the January meeting to form this ad hoc water committee. And I thought it was important to get the information to council and to the public so they're aware of our progress on it. And what we've done is prepared a draft terms of reference, which identify the purpose of the committee, which is this forum for representatives of the water users as well as staff to share information and ideas with respect to the water rates, the funding and the capital plans, as it's prepared for the 2020 budget year. So again, it comes from the direction from council. We've set out in the terms of reference the expectations of the members to work collaboratively on the committee's purpose, as well as included additional components we thought were important in the terms of reference, such as the composition of the committee, which would be listed there, but it's important to emphasize that it's the water manager, 3 members of the community and 2 members of council, as well as financial and administrative expertise being brought to the group as well. And I've included some other comments with respect to the roles, responsibilities, and meetings. And I think, again, the terms of reference are trying to deal with what we believe to be the issues that will face the committee, the ad hoc committee, over the course of the next several months as the information is prepared in advance of the 22 budget period. So I appreciate council at least considering this information today. Our plan is to take this draft and post the information shortly so that we advertise to the public the ability to sit on the ad hoc committee. And we would then have a process to review. If there's a lot of names submitted, we'd be able to review submissions and bring that forward back to council for consideration at our next meeting. And I believe that covers the issues I wanted to raise and flag with you today. So thank you.
Thanks, Arthur. Yes, Pat.
My only question is, we have 3 community users, and it's specified as 2 Creighton Heights and 1 Camborne. If this is on the website and somebody applies who's in the southern area under the Lucy system, would that make it so that they could not be considered? Like, should it just say 3 community users?
Fully, through you, Mayor Kane, fully at the discretion of council. However, my recommendation was to at least make sure we had users from the Creighton Heights and the Camborne groups. In other words, those are the ones that are to be directly impacted by the water rates at this time. The users from the Ontario section will be impacted by the capital charge, but not through the user rates, which are set by Lucy directly.
Oh, okay.
So that's why the focus was on our users in Creighton Heights and Camborne. And if we do not get enough names, we'll obviously look forward to whomever we want to sit on it, but I believe we'll be able to get representatives from both systems.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yes, Larry.
Just to confirm, this will be open to the public, this committee?
Yes, through Mayor Kane, yes, it is. It would be a public committee or operating within the context of any of our committees in the township.
Okay, thank you, Arthur. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks. And I will be considering any volunteers from members of council to sit on this committee. We need 2. I know that I believe Mark and Pat volunteered for the last committee that came up. I'm not putting pressure on anybody that I haven't named, but I would sit only if we couldn't get someone else. So any other members of council, just you can email me if you have an interest, and I'll keep you in mind. Thank you. Do we need a motion to receive this for information then?
Please, Mayor Kane, that would be helpful, yes.
Yeah, I think that's what we should do. So moved by Larry, seconded by Scott. All in
I
favor?
do have a question though.
Oh,
before
I'm
we
sorry,
move
Scott.
on.
I thought we were done.
This obviously is in front of us as a draft.
Yes.
What occurs to make this a non-draft, or as we move forward, what's going to occur?
So through you, Mayor Kane, to Deputy Mayor Jib. You could approve the terms referenced today if you so choose, on behalf of council. My plan was to use this terms of reference as the guidance for posting the information so that members of the public who are interested in participating or at least aware of the terms ask council if there are any further amendments or any changes. That can occur over the course of the next several weeks. But when I bring back the information, both on the committee as well as the representatives in a report to council, any updates, adjustments, or refinements to the terms of reference could be approved by and finalized by council at that time as well.
So our motion that's on the floor that we're about to vote for does accomplish what you need to have done today at this point in time.
Through Mayor Kane, yes, it does. Deputy Mayor Jib, it will get us started to get this posted. And again, people will be aware that that's the draft terms of reference. And again, this will all be finalized when we come back to council.
Thank you.
Further questions? So I believe we've had a mover, it'll be Larry, and a seconder, Scott. All in favor to receive for information? And that's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're on to section 13, recreation facilities. We have received tenders for a new arena ice resurfacer. So I'm looking for a motion from council that authorizes the mayor and treasurer to award the purchase of an arena ice resurfacer to Zamboni Company Limited in the amount of $98,214.68, including net HST, as received in RFP number PR 2021-01. Mover, thanks, Scott. Seconded by Mark. Any questions? Well, obviously, this came in below budget, or we wouldn't be bringing it, or below or at budget, or we wouldn't be bringing it forward. So all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Have a new ice resurfacer on order. 14, corporate services, excuse me, 14.1. Looking for a motion that council receive staff report CAO 2021-01, being a report regarding the Pentecostal camp servicing, and that council authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the proposed amendments to that agreement. Moved by Larry. Seconded by Pat. Thank you. Discussion. Seeing none, I'll call a question. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you, council. 14.2. We're into our records and information management strategic plan. Looking for a motion, excuse me, that council receive report CD 2021-03, records and information strategic plan year 1, quarter 3 update for information. Thanks, Pat. Seconded by Larry. Questions, discussion? Pat?
Just a comment that again, this is a huge project that's been taken on, and it's nice to see such steady progress on it.
Agreed. Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor of this motion? Carried, thank you. PN 2021-01. This is under section 14.3. That would be the 21 Staples e-sign. The council, we need a motion that council adopt a new bylaw that will rezone the subject lands. It will also rescind the previous amending bylaw from December 15th, 2020. I believe this is some housekeeping corrections that we're making. Yes, Larry, moved, seconded. Thanks, Scott. Any questions of staff? Call a question, all in favor? That's carried, thank you. Moving to 14.4. This would be the Harris merger agreement. We're looking for a mover that council direct the mayor and clerk to sign the consent agreement and return to the applicants, Aubrey, Andrew, and Adam Harris, for registration on title and fulfillment of a consent, excuse me, a condition of consent. Moved by Scott, seconded by Larry. Further discussion? All in favor then? Also carried. Thank you. $14.6. So this is agreement number 3 for the Harris agreement.
I think we missed 2. I think we missed 14.5.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let me back up here. I'm flipping pages. 14. You're right. Thank you very much, Larry. So 14.5, this is merger agreement number 2. The council direct the mayor and clerk to sign the consent agreement and return to the applicant, Aubrey Harris, for registration on title in fulfillment of a condition of consent. Thanks, Scott, seconded by Mark. All in favor? That one's carried. 14.6. Now a motion that council direct the mayor and clerk to sign the consent agreement and return to the applicants Aubrey, Andrew, and Adam Harris for registration on title and fulfillment of a condition of consent. Moved. Scott, seconded by Mark. Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor? That's also carried. 14.7. We're looking for a motion that council of the Township of Hamilton receives report 2021-10, and the council approves selection of the following consulting firms to complete the following projects. The Public Sector Digest to complete in 2021 the Asset Condition and Analysis Report, and Watson and Associates to complete the Water Development Study and the Water Rate Study and Financial Plan. Movers.
I would move, Mr. Chair, but I think we should have a recorded vote dealing with water.
Thank you. We need a seconder. Thanks, Larry. We'll open it for discussion before we vote. Are there questions? Concerns about costs? None? Okay. We will ask for a recorded vote then from the clerk, please, or the deputy clerk.
Mayor Kane,
Yes.
we'll call the vote.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Jeb,
Yay.
Councillor McCourt,
Yay.
Councillor Loveson,
Yay.
Councillor Williamson,
Yay.
and Mayor Kane.
I'm yay. Thanks, Kate.
Thank you.
Motion is carried. Brings us to 14.8. That was the application for a tax reduction. We need a mover and seconder that council approves the write-off of property taxes for 8176 Jib Road for a total amount of $937.26 for the 215 days of the 2020 year, of which $416.63 is the municipality's portion. Thanks, Larry. Seconded by Pat. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. 14.9. This is the section on council remuneration. We need a mover and a seconder that report T 2021-12, itemizing the remuneration and expenses of council for 2020 is received by council and posted on the township website. Thanks, Larry. Seconded by Scott. Discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Section 16, emergency services. So we're at the fire department capital purchase approval request. We're looking for a motion. The council authorized the fire chief and the treasurer to award the purchase of a 2021 Dodge 4x4 550 crew cab chassis as quoted in RFP number Fire 2021-01 to JJ Stewart Motors for the price of $63,609 plus applicable taxes. Thanks, Mark. Seconder, and that's Larry. In discussion? Again, this obviously is within the budget, so we didn't ask for any increases, so I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. 15.2. This is the fire department information report, the Clark McKinley Road fire. I guess we'll get this on the floor before we start a discussion. I'm sure there's going to be some. So we are looking for a motion that the Council of Township of Hamilton receive the following report and that council direct staff to communicate with the owner the charges under the bylaw. Thanks, Larry. Seconded by Pat. So I will now open this for discussion. We have received the the fire report, I had contacted yesterday to have the actual invoice sent. I felt that that was beneficial, that members of council should actually see the actual invoice. So I'm going to open this up for any input. Yes, Larry?
The invoice that I see now, when we first saw this at one of the council meetings, I forget what date that was, but I don't believe the balance of this information was in that. Was it or wasn't it? I can't remember.
Well, I'm going to, I know we have fire department staff on, so I'm not going to try to answer them, but I do know that they did find an addition error, so the number would have changed for sure. But could I have Mike or Kelly, whichever is present, whoever wants to take this on, please answer Councillor Williamson.
From what I understand, there was an addition error, but the numbers have not changed in the invoice.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So when we saw this invoice at the last meeting when we were discussing this, was the addendums to this, like the breakdown and itemized report, included in that point? I mean, is this what we're seeing here from the invoice and all the itemized and receipt stubs? Was that what was delivered to Mr. Brady in full?
No, sir, it was not in full. It was broke down in terms of each category that we invoiced him for.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Scott?
I've done the best job of review that I can on this, and I have mixed feelings on it. I will start off by saying that our fire department, in the generation of this report, I believe for today has provided more concise information than we would have had a month ago at our last council meeting. And to that end, I say thank you. What I review from the report is that our staff have taken the documents that we as council have approved, and I point out that those approvals can be going back to as recent as 2020, and before that 2017, which means that the majority of people that are on this council today actually approve those tools that the fire department has used to draw this conclusion. And as a result of that, my first thought is that this is precise, accurate, and in the manner in which it should be. I go back to some conversation that we've had. When I say we, I speak of former Mayor Lovshin and myself and our fire chief, Kelly Serson, where we got in our minds, I guess, Mark, a little confusion as to what fire apparatus was. And I have some thoughts on the billing dollars per hour of the 3 trucks. And this is something I've had the occasion to discuss with the fire department. If we deviate from this invoice, one of the components I thought we should deviate from was billing out a pickup truck, which I believe is number 590, for approximately 28 hours at the rate of $477 per hour, which is, my math relates to about $13,000. And yet, if we deviate from it, we're going against the tools and the regulations and the bylaws that we have put in place. And that's been by all of our present council members in 2020 to have our fire department use. And that's not a good practice or a policy. So even though I feel this bill is excessive, it is real. And I am having any difficulty in deviating from what is real in this particular instance. We can draw in the component of this property owner not having or stating not having fire insurance. That's a matter outside of our rules, jurisdiction, and authority. We had staff, we had equipment on site for multiple days at multiple levels of service after the fire was extinguished. And I emphasize again, our fire department has gone by the rules and regulations in place. I am of the opinion, contrary to some of my earlier thoughts, that we have much of an option to deviate from the total that's in front of us today. I'll be very pleased to hear of other council members' opinions.
Yes, Larry?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with Deputy Mayor Jib that, previously we didn't have as much detail as we had before. Now I realize how this is broken out, and understanding the criminal aspect of this also, we have to start setting a precedent for the future also. And I would take a motion to, that we pass this as it stands, and direct the staff to communicate with the owner with the details that we have now, so that they fully understand the extent of the invoice that they were submitted with.
Yes, Mark?
I'm going to agree with my fellow two councillors that have already spoken. For me, I'm glad that all the details are all together in one package. That's maybe what was lacking the first time around. I guess all the details were probably there. They just probably weren't all together to give us a full understanding. And for me, it's not about the suppression of the fire. It's all to do with the other charges that go above and beyond that were out of our control. So I too will support staff on this one 100%. And I thank staff for coming back with this report again. So thank you very much.
Okay, Larry. Okay, Mark, thank you. It's really significant, Mark, to point out that none of these charges have anything to do with fire suppression. Hamilton Township responded to all three stations, also invoked mutual aid, brought trucks from Port Hope, brought trucks from A&H. So not only our municipality incurred costs, but Port Hope incurred costs, A&H incurred costs, and any other municipality that the fire coordinator had to bring trucks from, because once you move all the trucks out of A&H, somebody's got to bring some trucks down there to replace them. They can't leave them without any fire coverage. So this is a major movement of fire trucks and expense to municipalities across the county. And none of them submitted a bill for any of that. All of these charges are a direct cause of illegal actions that were taken on the property. Federal laws were broken, provincial laws were broken, municipal laws were broken. And the reason that our fire department was on the scene is because there was an OPP investigation underway. There was an investigation from the Office of the Fire Marshal underway. And there was an investigation from the Chief Building Officer underway. And our fire department was there to provide labor, to provide security to the scene so that nothing could be altered, changed, or moved, or could disappear. And just to ensure the safety of the people that are working there. So and the owner, I'm not even sure what to say, signed a lease with a company that obviously he didn't get any legal help with it. He leased the property, to my estimation, far below market value. He did not indemnify himself in any way or make the leasee responsible for any activities on the property. Apparently didn't realize he was supposed to notify the municipality that there was a change of occupation on the land, had illegal alterations made to buildings that weren't within code and without permits. The same with electrical. had a, this is most of upsetting to me, had a portable bunkie brought onto the property and put 6 people in it with a kitchen and only one way in or out. No carbon monoxide detectors, no smoke detectors. I mean, just really fortunate that all happened as we burned a building and some plants. Apparently didn't know either that there was something like 7,000 plants beyond what the people were supposed to be growing. I'm just having a very difficult time thinking that, you know, as a municipality, that we're being overly aggressive with this bill. I have spoken personally with Mike, who was the lead on this incident, and I'm back to what Scott started with, the question of the truck 590, and I'm considering that, and I've already, and Mike and Kelly know this because we've already had this conversation. I did question whether or not that we should be charging full MTO rate for that pickup truck to be there at least the first day. We had 2 other vehicles on site, a pumper and a tanker. And then the second day, we had a pumper there as well, and we may not have charged. But the other 2 days, we had to have some vehicle there, and that was, they took the smaller ones and leave the fire suppression vehicles in the hall where they were needed. So if I would make any recommendation at all to council in any way that we could, you know, make some sort of a concession to help it in any way with the ratepayer, that we might eliminate the 4,770 from the first day and the 3,816 from the second day for the support vehicle to be there on the property. Other than that, I'm falling behind everything else that's on this bill. So I'll toss that out for discussion. I'll even, you know, invite Mike, or if Kelly's the one who's doing the talking today, come on, you kick that around with me and make any other recommendations that you want to the council.
Mr. Mayor, if I could.
Yes, Larry.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think we've got to refer back to Deputy Mayor Scott Gibbs' comment about if we start adjusting our regulations and policies, then we start opening up another can of worms in the future. I think we either have to hold it, or we're going to be negotiating with other people in the future if this occurs. But I think we've got to set a precedent with regards to specifically cannabis grow operations, where damages are, if we get the ratepayers coming back to us and saying, well, we're paying for it. I mean, it's coming out of the pocket of the ratepayers. So we can't be taking their money out of their pockets. So I think we have to, maintain the policies and procedures that we have in place and hold fast on this invoice. That's my opinion. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes. Thanks, Larry.
I too would agree with Larry 100% on this one. I mean, and not just from what Larry said, but from what you said yourself, Mr. Mayor, with all the infractions and so forth dealing with this. I mean, if it wasn't for the marijuana and the illegal activity, being there, this probably would never have happened. So I too am 100% in support with Larry on this one.
Yeah, Mark, just to back up, under normal circumstances, a normal fire, after the suppression, our fire department would have turned this property back over to the owner. They very likely would have, came out as a courtesy call the next day just to check on hotspots and make sure that, things are relatively safe. But basically, there wouldn't have been a charge for that, and none of this bill wouldn't have transpired. It just wouldn't have happened. The only reason it was there was because of all the illegal activity. And as I've already said, I have so much doubt. There's just so much doubt that a property owner could possibly know that much activity was going on his own property, be totally unaware of it. It's just beyond belief. Pat?
I am in agreement with what all of you gentlemen have said. When Larry says about setting a precedent, the only thing that would be new if we changed it would be literally we're not following the rules that we set in place ourselves because it was a cannabis operation. And that's like a bad precedent on so many ways. I think we have to stick with the policies that we have.
So I think we've all had a turn at kicking that around then. Yes, Scott?
I would, as we move forward away from this discussion, I think we need to possibly revisit our fees and rates and policies on this. For me, and I come back to that pickup truck, for me, I stand where I have stated a full bill. However, I would like to entertain discussion in the future at the appropriate time and go back and revisit that section or those sections of the bylaw.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Well, we haven't, I don't know if it's been stated or not, but these prices are set basically, these are MTO rates, and they're generally the accepted rates of fire departments across the province when they're billing out. Like, these numbers weren't numbers that our fire service just dreamed up out of a clear blue sky. These are the recommended prices that are charged by many fire departments, if not all fire departments across the province when they get to a billing situation like this. So, all right, so if there's no further discussion, I've had a motion actually from Councillor Williamson that the bill be presented as stands with no alterations. Is that correct, Councillor?
Well, I think we should also include all the breakdown, the itemized bills, so that they have full knowledge of that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, so whoever's recording it, could we have that added to that motion? Where it says the council directs staff to communicate with the owner the changes under the charges under the bylaw, that we also include then a breakdown of the bill.
As provided to us.
Yes. So do we have a seconder for that motion?
Yes, we did. We had Councillor McCourt.
Oh, we did. Okay, thank you. So there's no further discussion. I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried. Brings us to section 16, communications and announcements. So we'll introduce 16.1 to 16.5, and that would be the AO policy update on the COVID-19 relief funding. 16.2, the resolution of the Sarnia City Council to color-coded capacity limits. The Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks information. Municipality of St. Charles about cannabis production facilities, and the AMCTO open letter to municipal councils re-staff training. So if we could get a motion to put all 5 of those on the floor, please. Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Pat, by seconding. And before we pass, then I'll ask, does anyone want to pull anything for further discussion from those 5 items? Yes, Larry.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Maybe I could ask Councillor Lovshin about the 16.3, the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks. Is that something that we need to get in more detail about that, Mark, because of the new regulations there?
At this point, Larry, I mean, I know at our own Conservation Authority, we haven't really looked at any of the consequence to it. I mean, we put our input in and we're hoping to buy some time. That didn't happen. So at this point, we're living with the changes. They're not real major changes. So, I mean, there is some change to the authority aspect of it. And until we get into how that influences our CA, well, it's hard to know at this point. So right now, as I know more, I'll bring it back to council, but at this point and we do have a meeting this month, so it'll be our first one really since these regulations have changed. So if there's anything on the agendas, I'll definitely pass them on to you.
Thank you, Councillor. Lovshin. Now, one more point, 16.4, the municipality of St. Charles, the Tweed resolution. I think we should put forth a resolution on that also, seeing that we've just had a big discussion on cannabis, illegal cannabis. And I know we've done it in the past, but the more we do it, the better it's going to be until the federal and provincial governments take heed.
So it's federal
Thank you.
government that we're after, Larry, federal.
Yeah.
So I just asked Kate to weigh in this. Kate, how many times do we've done this? I know, as Larry said, he's aware, we have already done this several times.
We
Is there
have,
benefit-
sorry.
Is there
Okay.
benefit in us continuing to do this?
We have supported the municipality Tweed when they've reached out previously. These motions now are, it's actually the municipality of St. Charles has sent this. So we would be supporting the municipality of St. Charles, who are supporting the municipality of Tweed. But we have supported Tweed directly. So it's up to council whether they want for us to send this to the municipality of St. Charles.
Right, understood. So members of council, Larry, you still want to go ahead with this and pass a resolution?
I think we should. I mean, if we keep hammering at it, you can't say it enough.
Would you like to make that resolution then that we
I make
support?
that resolution that we support the community of St. Charles, the township of St. Charles.
I'll second it, Mr. Mayor.
Seconded by Mark. Any other discussion?
Question,
Yes,
question to staff. If we support this in the present motion, are we not just sending it to St. Charles? Does it go elsewhere?
Mayor Kane, I believe this also includes lobbying the federal government.
thank you. Which is the biggest reason we would do this.
Okay, thank you.
Good, so all in favor of that resolution? That's carried, thank you. Anything more from communications section? So a quick backup to 16.3, Mark, that I know the greatest concern about those changes involved the possibility that it would interfere with conservation's ability to protect ground source water. That was the number one, I believe, issue. Do we know if there's been any clarification on that particular point?
At this point, no, we don't know the consequence yet, Mr. Mayor, but as I mentioned to Larry, as soon as I know something, I'll definitely pass it on to council or make sure it comes onto our agenda under correspondence or somewhere. But maybe I'll know more this Thursday when we meet. But till now, I really can't give you any further updates.
Thank you. So if there's nothing else to draw from communications, we'll move to section 17, bylaws. Bylaw 2021-12, we're looking for motion from council. The bylaw 2021-12 being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 2001-58 as amended, the Township of Hamilton Land Use Control Bylaw be given a first, second, and third reading and finally passed the 15th day of March, 2021. Thanks, Scott, seconded by Pat. All in favor? That's carried, thank you. And bylaw 2021, consent to merger agreements for Harris. So we'll look for a motion that bylaw 2021-13, being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to sign and execute consent merger agreements between the corporation and the Township of Hamilton and Aubrey, Andrew, and Adam Harris to fulfill conditions of consent applications B18/19 and B19/19, and to assign acknowledgements and directions if required for the registration of the agreements to be given first, second, and third reading, and finally passed the 16th day of March, 2021. Thanks, Larry, seconded by Pat. We've already discussed this, so all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Brings us to, I believe, 70.3. Bylaw 2021-14, the amending agreements. Again, we need a motion that bylaw 2021-14 being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to sign amending agreements, agreement number 1 to the service agreement dated August 1st, 2018 between the corporation, the Township of Hamilton, and the corporation of the town of Cobourg and Lakefront Utility Services, Inc. Be given first, second, and third reading and finally passed this 16th day of March 2021. Thanks, Larry. Seconded by Mark. All in favor? That is carried. There's no motion, excuse me, there are no motions. This is the time for questions from the media. Looking at my participants list, and I don't see any members of the public. I'll give them just a second in case they're on the phone. So I hear none, so we will move to section 20. There's no closed session. So that brings us all the way to 22. Notice is required by notice for bylaws. There are none. So we need a confirmatory bylaw. A motion from council that bylaw 2021-15 being a bylaw to adopt the proceedings of the special council meeting held on the 16th day of March 2021 and to authorize its execution to give a first, second, and third reading and finally pass the 16th day of March. I think I should say the regular council meeting, not special. So we have a motion. Thanks, Scott. Seconded by Larry. All in favor? That's carried. Section 24, motion to adjourn, moved by Scott. Seconded by Larry. All in favor? We're adjourned. Once again, I want to thank council for your diligence today, conversations, and staff for all your input. Everyone stay safe out there. Till we meet again.
Bye, everyone.
I know.
Stay safe.
Bye, everyone.